I just can't afford the rent.
Tonight's special news feature on homeless Australians. Minister for Regional Development Brendon Grylls announced new funding packages. Good to have your company.
Also making news, June 4th organisers furious about police crowd arrangements. And Chinese moon probe has mapped 2/3 of the moon.
First tonight, our special feature story on one of the many homeless Australians in Perth. Corey Wilkinson has accepted our interview and told us how he ended up on the streets due to increasing rental prices and utility costs. Corey now plans to stand against Housing and Transport Minister Troy Buswell in the next state election in an attempt to improve public housing in WA. Corey Wilkinson is one of many who are homeless here in Australia. He was kicked out due to high rental prices. Tonight, he shows us around the city where homeless people used to stay and share with us how do they get on with their lives.
Our killer over there actually gives me a $5 feeds. Everywhere I go in there, I can get a $5 feed from in there. You see that? Across the road here is the place, there's the staircase, you go downstairs and there's a power point there. You can actually charge your mobile there. But yeah, and that's just here at Town Hall.
So that's the only way, this is the only power source you get?
Oh, no. Some of the shops do it for us.
In order to get money for his daily needs, Corey could sometimes spend a whole day back on the street, hoping that someone with compassion can provide his everyday needs.
It depends. Some days I could go all day and get $30. Other days I could go 2 hours and get $100. It just depends on the people that walk past.
To a homeless person, it is not a surprise that every part of the city can become his home.
Sometimes you can sleep up in the stairs or down here. There's a few more stairs as you go down further.
He also knows that some empty houses in the CBD where a lot of underage homeless teenagers are staying together.
There's a few empty houses around the CBD that have got anywhere between 4 to 12 under 18-year-olds.
A lot of underage.
There's a lot of underage people.
Corey Wilkinson is often disappointed with the public housing problem here in Western Australia. He often attempts to speak to Housing and Transport Minister Troy Buswell face to face in order to speak up for the homeless people here in Perth. He also plans to campaign against Mr Buswell in the next state election. This Wednesday, I've travelled 210 kilometres down to Busselton to see will he able to meet Mr Buswell in his regional MP office.
Well, I'm going to start my campaign to run against him as an independent. I'm also going to try and organise a meeting with him.
Do you think it's going to be successful today?
No.
Interestingly, Mr Buswell later showed up to his office to meet Corey privately behind doors. Corey later came out and spoke to the media, saying he's content of how it went.
I'm happy to have met him. That's all I've wanted the whole time.
Housing and Transport Minister Troy Buswell has also expressed to the media that housing is always a challenge and his performance will be judged by the community during the election.
We are a wealthy society. It is unfortunate that for a whole range of reasons people find themselves in homeless circumstance. One of the things we're focusing on through the affordable housing strategy at a state level is perhaps a more holistic approach to homelessness. There's always people run against you at elections, and ultimately, as with every MP, your local communities judge you at the time of the election on your performance.
Ivan Leung, DHK News.
WA Minister for Regional Development Brendon Grylls proclaimed a new funding package on Wednesday for the Busselton-Dunsborough foreshore redevelopment and a $5 million fund to establish WA's first regional coronary care unit in Bunbury to allow Southwest regional patients to be treated in their area.
Busselton is the fastest growing area in Western Australia. And this Wednesday, Minister for Regional Development, Mr. Brendon Grylls, has announced that the Royalties and Regional Funding has pledged $9.7 million to redevelop Busselton and Dunsborough foreshore, which would include leisure and entertainment areas, children play areas, and space for sporting and cultural activities. Member for BAS, Mr. Troy Buswell, is really excited about the coming change.
Plans around the foreshore, plans around hospital and health infrastructure, and plans around the airport are all very exciting and important plans for this area, which reflect the growing importance of this area to Western Australia and of Western Australia to the Australian national economy.
In the same afternoon, Mr. Grylls also announced $5 million from the royalties for regional funding would be used to establish Western Australia's first regional coronary care unit. This includes an angiography suite that will help people who have heart attacks and chest pains receive a close-to-home service. Mr. Grylls also said in his media statement that the new facilities will save patients time from travelling all the way to Perth for therapeutic and life-saving treatments.
Far too often, heart patients have needed to be transferred in an emergency setting down to Perth to get that high-level care. Through $5 million of royalties for region funding and a partnership with St John of God, we'll now have 6 beds here in Bunbury.
Shibs Way, DHK News, Bunbury.
The WA Police are urging members of the public who may have witnessed the attempted abduction in Armadale last Tuesday to come forward. Police officers are also looking for the offenders who broke into a news agency in Belmont Forum Shopping Centre last week. The thieves entered through the roof of the building.
The 22-year-old victim was approached by an unknown male driving a light grey coloured Toyota Hilux with a rear canopy while she was walking home along Shelley's Road, Armadale. After his taunts were not heeded, the man tried to pull the victim into his vehicle, but his attempts were foiled by a passing motorist in a white Hawthorn Commodore. The police are still looking for witnesses, and especially the motorist in the white Hawthorn Commodore. A composite image of the man whom the police wish to speak to and the similar Toyota Hilux used by the unknown man had been provided to the public. The second case happened at Belmont Forum, where robbers stole cash and cigarettes from a news agency through the roof. This incident happened over the Foundation Day long weekend. Police are interested in talking to anyone who has information on any suspicious activities or vehicles around Belmont Forum, especially on the roof of the centre.
Anyone who has information on whichever incidents, please call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-333-000. Richie Lee, DHK News.
Time for some Hong Kong stories now, and police have dismissed allegations that the crowd control measures implemented during the June 4th candlelight vigil were aimed at driving away participants. However, the event organiser is not happy with the response and urged IPCC to launch an inquiry.
The organizer of the event, Hong Kong Audience Chairman Lee Chut-yen, insists the dramatic change of the police behaviour could only have been politically motivated. He have already urged the Independent Police Complaint Council to launch an inquiry. However, the police department spokesman has expressed that crowds were diverted away from the football pitch at Victoria Park because there are already too many people there. Their primary concerns is the ensuing safety of the public, and the political considerations play no part on their decision-making process. William Mann, DHK News in Hong Kong.
The Hong Kong government has made the E-coli bacteria a notifiable disease after it killed more than 20 people in Germany. A government spokesman says that in view of recent outbreaks and the seriousness of the disease, there is a pressing need to strengthen surveillance. This means doctors are required by law to notify the Director of Health of any suspected cases.
China's unmanned lunar spacecraft Chang'e 2 has already mapped more than 2/3 of the moon's surface. The team hope that by the end of this year, the moon atlas will be complete.
What you see now are some of the pictures that Chang'e 2 mapped out of the moon so far. These are the images of the dark side of the moon that we cannot always see. Only the lunar side, which faces the Earth, can be seen from our planet. Chang'e 2 was launched in China in October last year and is part of the first phase of the Chinese lunar exploration program as a preparation for a soft landing by Chang'e 3. The project costs $134 million, but is at the same time boosting China's space technological advancement. Isabel Huther, DHK News.
Just to let you know that Jacob Lam is down south having a fantastic holiday.
So here is Moyukh with the latest sports news.
Thanks guys, welcome to the evening sports. British Prime Minister David Cameron has said that he wasn't impressed with FIFA's current international reputation. Speaking during a question session in Parliament, Mr Cameron called on football's global governing body to become more transparent and accountable in the future. He stated that the body's reputation was currently at an all-time low. He also added that he was not impressed by FIFA's governance of the sport at an international level and called the recent election a farce. Mr. Cameron campaigned heavily for England's 2018 World Cup bid, which was eliminated with just 2 votes during a FIFA ballot in Zurich. A quick reminder that tonight Geelong squares off against Hawthorn. It's on at 7:10 Australian East Coast time. If Geelong wins, coach Chris Scott will break a 79-year record for most consecutive wins coached without a loss. That's the sport headlines. Back to you, Ivan and Anna.
Thank you, Moyukh, and that's how the world looks tonight.
Enjoy your weekend. Good night.
Good night.